From Fear Factor to podcast, powerhouse The Rise of Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, comedian, podcast host, UFC commentator. He's a man of many talents and he doesn't let you forget it. But how did this former Fear Factor host become one of the most influential voices in America? Rogan's journey began with stand-up comedy. He started in the late 80s, honing his craft in smoky clubs. His comedy is raw, honest, and often delves into the absurd. Think of it as a conversation with your funniest, most opinionated friend after a few too many beers. But it was his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, that catapulted him to a new level of fame. Launched in 2009, the podcast was a casual, long-form conversation with friends and interesting people. Little did he know it would become a cultural phenomenon. Now, years later, Rogan's podcast is a powerhouse. It consistently ranks among the top podcasts globally. It's a testament to his ability to connect with people on a personal level, and also his willingness to talk about absolutely anything. So what makes the Joe Rogan Experience so captivating? Part of the appeal is Rogan's genuine curiosity. He approaches each guest with an open mind. Whether it's Elon Musk talking about colonizing Mars or a renowned scientist discussing the mysteries of the universe, and the guests, Rogan has hosted everyone from astrophysicists to actors, from politicians to, well, Elon Musk again. His conversations are free-flowing. They often veer off on unexpected tangents. You might tune in to hear about climate change and end up learning about the mating habits of chimpanzees. One of his most notable episodes featured Elon Musk back in 2018. Musk famously smoked weed on air, sending the internet into a frenzy. It was a defining moment for the podcast, showcasing its unpredictable nature. But beyond the viral moments, the podcast offers a space for long-form discussions. These are increasingly rare in our fast-paced, soundbite-driven world. Rogan's willingness to delve deep into complex topics, often over several hours, has resonated with millions. Rogan's political views are, to put it mildly, all over the map. He's like that friend who changes their mind about who to vote for every 5 minutes. He endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2020, then surprised everyone by backing Trump in 2024. Some argue his shifting political stances are a sign of open-mindedness. Others see it as fickle and opportunistic. Whatever your view, there's no denying that Rogan isn't afraid to speak his mind, even if it means alienating some of his listeners. His interviews with political figures, like his conversation with then-candidate Trump in 2024, spark heated debates. Rogan's critics argue that he gives a platform to dangerous views. His supporters counter that he's promoting open dialogue. Love him or hate him, Rogan's political commentary is part of his brand. He's not a journalist, and he doesn't claim to be. He's a comedian with a microphone and a lot of opinions, and he's not afraid to use them. There's no denying the Rogan effect. He's become a cultural force. His podcast has sparked countless conversations on everything from the existence of aliens to the future of artificial intelligence. His influence extends beyond the digital realm. He helped popularize things like alpha brain supplements and sensory deprivation tanks. Because if Joe Rogan endorses it, it must be good, right? But his real impact lies in his ability to foster dialogue. In a world increasingly divided, Rogan's podcast reminds us of the power of conversation, even when we disagree, or especially when we disagree. Joe Rogan is a paradox, a comedian who's serious about serious issues, a political chameleon who somehow remains relatable. He's a product of our time, and yet he's also shaping it. And as his podcast continues to dominate the charts, one thing's for sure, we haven't heard the last of Joe Rogan.